Guys, since the House of Representatives has overwhelmingly voted on Tuesday to release the Epstein files, we'll start with his partner in crime, Ghislaine Maxwell. Before I toss to you guys to talk about this, I want to sort of set the table here about what's going on with this habeas appeal. So Epstein's co-conspirator, she's planning to file what's called a habeas corpus petition. She's seeking a court's review of her 20-year prison sentence. A habeas corpus appeal, it's more accurately referred to as a petition. It's essentially a legal lifeline for somebody who's already been convicted, of course, at trial, and they've already exhausted their first round of appeals, their direct appeals. And so they're locked up and they're trying to say, hey, look, judge, my imprisonment is illegal, or my trial was unconstitutional, making my imprisonment illegal. And is asking the court, of course, to take a fresh look at things even after, as I said, the regular appeals are done. In simple terms, it forces the government, such as prison officials or the Department of Justice and prosecutors, to justify why they're holding somebody. If they can't justify that it's lawful and that it's constitutional, the judge can order certain things like the person's release, or more commonly, a new trial, or perhaps other remedies. In a criminal case, habeas comes after a person has exhausted all of their direct appeals. And remember, hers has already been to the Supreme Court once. So it's not about retrying the whole case or nitpicking even small errors. It's for big things like my rights were trampled, evidence was seized unlawfully, or maybe my lawyer was so bad and so incompetent that my Sixth Amendment right to counsel was violated. One of the grounds also could be newly discovered evidence, and that is one of the grounds that Maxwell is basing this effort on, we understand. Remember, not every legal gripe qualifies. It needs to be solid grounds. So, Mark Eiglarsh, I'll start with you. Tell us, does Ghislaine Maxwell have solid grounds for her habeas?
Absolutely not. Listen, I'm thinking of that scene from Dumb and Dumber, right? Where she says, even if you're the last girl on earth, I would never date you, or whatever she says. And he goes, so you're saying I got a chance? That's exactly what she looks like, candidly. I don't speak Latin, but habeas corpus, I think, is loosely translated to fat chance. Look at the numbers. 12,000 petitions filed a year. 10% result in something favorable, but those are capital cases. In non-capital cases, which is what this is, only 1% of the chance of the time does she have a chance of something good happening. So no, I think it's slim to none.
Matt, look, Mark makes an excellent point. It's just a very, very small percentage of these things that ever succeed. The presumption is very heavily in favor of the lawfulness, if you will, of the trial. But look, sometimes habeas petitions do get granted. Sometimes new trials get granted. What do you make of all this?
Well, Mark makes me nervous because I got a habeas right now pending in front of the California Supreme Court on that they took up on a police officer case I have. So hopefully mine is one of those very few. Look, Mark's exactly right. She's got this case was so thoroughly litigated. The trial judge at the time knew what this case was about. Our friend Arthur Aidala has been involved in that on her defense team, as a matter of fact. Her involvement, she was up to her eyeballs. This was established. And look, this was real. The impact on these victims was unbelievably bad. And, Virginia Giuffre, a lot of people don't know this, she actually committed suicide in Australia. She was the victim that famously had the photo with Prince Andrew. So real people were hurt. This case was properly prosecuted by the Southern District in New York. It was completely botched down there in Florida, in my view. And I don't think she has any chance here at all, Phil, on prevailing on this habeas.
Well, look, one of the claims, before we move on to the other news about the effort to release the Epstein files, one of the claims that we understand is going to be made is that new evidence has come to light since her 2021 trial that her attorneys say would have had a material impact on the trial's outcome. So, Mark, pretend that you are her lawyer just for a minute. How do you convince a court that newly discovered evidence, would have changed a jury's verdict?
Well, depends on what that evidence is, right? If my client was framed like the Mona Lisa, then let's go. Let's change it up. I think that what she's accused of doing and ultimately convicted of is abhorrent, but I'm a big fan of the justice arena and due process. So what is it, right? In the abstract, it's hard to make an argument unless I've got it. But if I do have something that shows that she wasn't given a fair trial, there's something out there that wasn't litigated previously, then by all means, she deserves some relief.
Well, Matt referred to the impact that she and Epstein had on her victims. There's a current PSA out that some of the Epstein and Maxwell victims have put together. Let's roll SOT 1, and then we can talk about that.
I suffered so much pain.
So much pain.
So much pain.
I suffered so much pain. I was 14 years old.
I was 16 years old.
I was 16.
17.
14 years old.
This is me.
This was me.
This is me.
When I met Jeffrey Epstein.
This is me when I met Jeffrey Epstein.
There are about 1,000 of us.
It's time to bring the secrets out of the shadows. It's time to shine a light into the darkness.
So, of course, the House has voted in support of that. It's my understanding some victims were present at Congress when that vote was held. So we have that going on. And we also have, I guess it's not exactly related, although it's kind of related. We have these claims that Maxwell is getting special treatment. Here's the readout on that. Okay, there's been a federal prison nurse. Her name is Noella Turnage, 46 years old, in South Brazos County in Texas. She's a longtime healthcare professional. She's been employed by the Bureau of Prisons since 2019. Okay, she calls herself a whistleblower, and she's reported to Congress that Ghislaine Maxwell is getting some kind of special treatment. She says she was troubled by the special privileges given to Maxwell by Warden Tanisha Hall and other higher-ups at the facility, including Warden Hall personally handling all incoming mail. And there's other types of preferential treatment they're saying that she got. So I want to talk to you guys about a couple of things here that trouble me, though, because this person got this information because one of her jobs, even though she was a nurse, she was in charge of screening mail and including emails, and she got her hands on some attorney-client communications between Maxwell and her lawyer, because that's how we know that that they're planning this habeas appeal. And she's forwarded all that to Congress as a whistleblower. Matt Murphy, what do you make of that?
Well, I had the same problem you did, Phil. That's disturbing to me. And that's one of the areas for the viewer that is supposed to be absolutely sacrosanct. And that's communications between a criminal defendant and their attorney. And it is unbelievably important that people have that sort of confidentiality, even if they are in custody. And that's something that's like a third rail on this. And it is deeply disturbing me. Like if she's getting special privileges, blow the whistle all day long. If she's being afforded something that the other inmates don't have for whatever reason, by all means, shout it from the rooftops, and hopefully you get protection doing that. Releasing attorney-client communications is offensive to me, and it should be offensive to everybody. Just like Mark said, this is a system that's supposed to be based on fairness. That's totally unfair. I think that Congress, it's composed of a lot of lawyers. Hopefully what they will do is immediately seal all that. Because that should never see the light of day, in my view.
I agree with Matt.
I
was just said it perfectly, Phil.
I was going to ask you, Mark. She says that this is. Let's see if I get this right. She says she had a legal and ethical duty as a whistleblower to report what she, in her opinion, was a breach of law, policy, or regulation. But here's the thing. Back this summer, remember the Deputy Attorney General Blanche went and sat down with Maxwell, and they talked for a long time. Now, supposedly, she shelled down the corn, as we say here in Georgia, about some stuff, and we don't know what stuff. But that tells me she's a cooperating witness. She's cooperating in some way with the DOJ. So is it unlawful or unheard of for prosecutors or the Bureau of Prisons to give somebody something such as a little bit better living conditions in exchange for their cooperation. What do you say about that, Mark?
Okay, it's like, to me, it's a balance. All right. To be fair to this nurse, on one side, just like Matt said, I am very upset that she would be getting any specialized treatment. She doesn't deserve an extra biscuit. She doesn't deserve minutes more on the telephone. She doesn't deserve any extra benefit. So that's on one side of the scale. We want people to blow the whistle and to tell when that's going on. But on the other side is the sacred communication between an attorney and a client. And if that's compromised, the system shuts down. It's not about Maxwell. It's about every future defendant who can't freely communicate with their attorney. And I think it violates a huge law and a moral obligation that she has to not reveal those things. So I think that the scale tips in favor of her not doing this.
Well, I mean, obviously, Matt, if a prosecutor or law enforcement invades attorney-client privilege, a judge would blow their gasket, right? If this comes to light, and evidence like, things would be suppressed, people could be thrown in jail, all kinds of bad things could happen. But what do you do when someone says, all right, I'm going to steal this attorney-client email, and I'm going to say that I am a protected whistleblower under the Federal Whistleblower Act, and you can't do a damn thing to me?
Yeah, it's a tough thing, right? However, look, we're talking about the Congress of the United States of America here, and they are the lawmakers. They are the ones that pass all those codes that protect these things. And this has been the way it's supposed to work for hundreds of years. There's nothing new here, and it is about every single person, not just criminal defendant, but every person, every one of us. We have a right to communicate with certain people free of interference or release. That includes therapy, doctors, priest, penitent. There's a very select group of things in the evidence code where people are allowed, you want to speak freely to your spouse, for example. There are things that our law is based on common sense that has survived the test of time in multiple cases. This is one of those things. Mark used the word sacred. I agree. So she can turn those things over to Congress. People in Congress need to get over the political divide here, in my opinion, on this issue and a few others, and seal that stuff immediately. There needs to be a court order that woman isn't to disseminate that any further. She encountered those as a part of her employment. And look, she's probably setting up, she was fired. So I don't think I'm being too cynical when I say she's setting this up for a lawsuit. All that really does, as soon as she crosses that line, is make her look bad, in my view. That stuff needs to be buried and never see the light of day.